I knew I could count on some uplifting discussion once you return.
They would not be that color. Black and
in the office, I'm gonna get excited.
Been back in the saddle here a while, but I think 6 weeks.
We're a tie every day.
Oh, visited Savannah, down Savannah, and great place in Savannah, if you ever get to Savannah.
The Zoom and everything was good, so you guys are good.
Elizabeth said, I think.
You gotta push a button when I say or
No, it's just,
Well, you did, you did, Elizabeth.
anything I say?
they just started there, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that was my word.
There's my, I never met, I went on my birthday, my son's birthday, 56, and a sick kid, just a kid. What are you returned? I didn't know I was, you are.
How's it for you?
You could have kept it going. Alright.
You good?
That's what we needed. And big boisterous voice that be better served situations.
Is just, oh, no.
Alright,
I can do it for you.
I'm sure you can. Alright, we're getting started. It is 4:33.
How much fun is that?
Welcome everybody, call to order the regular monthly meeting, May 2025, the Tioga County IDA. And let's start with a roll call. I am here. Brenda Evans. Here. Kevin. Here. Marty Sauerbrei is excused. Tracy Minow. Here. Everybody here.
Eric said that he could come virtually, but he is not.
It's a lion, someone was on the knee.
Here we are again. We all agree to either agree or we don't have a quorum. Simple.
Huh? Yeah.
We have 4, that's all we need.
Man,
Yep.
That's what we all have to agree. So we have Casey Joe, Tiffany Woodburn, Wendy Walsh, and Matt Freeze is here. And we'll start, so Wendy, you're welcome. Wow. We'll let you have privilege of the floor, so if you want to bail out after that.
All right.
I want you to come up here so we can hear you too.
Oh, you don't think I can talk loud enough?
No. I don't.
All right, so I think everybody might know me. I don't know if I've met you. I'm Wendy Walsh. I'm the district manager for Tioga Soil and Water. Gosh, it's been a couple of years, but I came to, or you guys came to us, I think, regarding an issue on Blodgett Road, a stream or bank erosion that was endangering the railroad, also a utility line. We secured some funding through a DCWQIP grant, and we are ready to actually move forward. So it's been a process. Permits have been obtained. Contract has been obtained from the state. Design has been done. We have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor this week. We meet with them Friday. And so landowner has agreed to the agreement that we had. I guess I will note a special mention in the landowner agreement was that they did not want to have any responsibility for the structures after we complete them. In fairness to them, they could care less if the project moves forward or not. So we went back and forth quite a bit because typically our agreements say that the landowner is responsible to maintain and operate it. We always have the caveat that the district will look for funding if there's an issue with our design or there was some sort of failure due to a storm event. So we relayed that to them, and they said, no, we still don't want to have any ownership essentially of the project. And they were also had some liability concerns. We got past the liability concerns, and then we left the language in the agreement that basically said the Soil and Water District will monitor the project, and that we will be responsible if we feel that there's any type of damage that needs to come back in and be addressed. And so I'd look to maybe have you guys share that responsibility with us in the future if we need to revisit it. But essentially, I don't foresee there being an issue long-term. The project design life is 10 years. Most of those exceed that lifespan quite some time. We check and we visit and monitor all of our projects anyways annually and after large storm events to make sure things are staying in place. And if something were to happen, it's a funded project that likely we could get FEMA assistance for down the road potentially as a disaster if it were to strike. So I'm not super concerned, but just letting you know that that kind of onus falls back to the district and the IDA. We did something similar, if you remember, we did a project on Monkey Run a number of years ago where we had to go back in and do a little bit of work, and you guys supported that work when we did it, but like I said, I don't see it to be major, and we left it specific in the agreement that we would be the determining factor. We would determine if we come back in or not. It won't be just because the landowner doesn't like something, since we ultimately be financially responsible. So we got 2 bids back when we announced, one from JB Excavation and then one from a minority women business enterprise that was not located in Tioga County. The bids were financially substantially different. Jeff Benthon's came in at around $123,600, and the other one was like $350,000 quote, which isn't surprising. Typically, Jeff is very economical on our stream projects. So we are moving forward with having him complete the site work. Permits are in hand. Like I mentioned, the pre-construction meeting is this week, and that should actually be good news because the cost is almost half of what we originally estimated, which should reduce your cost share as well. So I don't have final numbers
How
until
do we win that one?
I don't have final numbers yet because we might have some design changes as we go through it, but I'm hopeful that we should be able to keep the cost down. The only kind of outstanding item I think at this moment at the pre-construction meeting is the fact that we have the power line, which NICEAG wanted to power off during construction. So they're going to figure all of that out. Jeff says he can work with it live, so we'll let them discuss it and figure out how they want to handle that.
So that clarifies my one question. This is the project where we have the telephone poles that were getting a little
Yeah, it's,
close to the end of the ground, right?
yeah.
And you said it lasts 10 years, so without getting too much in the weeds, so then you went there and rip wrap and reclaim and then hopefully it lasts 10 years. And then what do we do in 10 years if it doesn't hold up, we go and do it again?
Potentially, but we've seen our lifespans far exceed what the design lifespan is. It's just that the engineer says, I'm only responsible for this design to hold up for 10 years. And that's
Okay.
all that the grant requires us to do operation maintenance, but
But I can see why the landowner doesn't want to be responsible for the upkeep of something that's
Most of the work.
$123,000 10 years from now.
Water, I mean, how much
Yeah.
is it really even on the landowner's?
there's a little bit, actually, there'll be some improvements because we're moving the stream back a little bit from the railroad bed. And then that opens up access road to a field that they have just downstream.
Okay.
So they're actually excited that they're gonna get access again, to that particular portion of their field, so. But it's like it's a 880-foot project. We're putting in a modified Roskin Towood design, which is essentially, I should have brought you guys a photo, but I did bring a picture of the design. So basically, this is the bend in the stream.
Those are trees.
Yep, we put in root wads. We modify it because we actually put stone foundation footers under the tree root wads so they won't disintegrate and break off. And then we do a series of lifts from the top of the base or top of the root wad. It's like a burrito. You lay it out flat fabric, you put a bunch of soil in it, then you flip it back up on top of it. You put in some trees there to plant some, and then we'll do 2 layers of that. And then on top, we're doing a bunch of willow plantings in rows about 30 feet apart. So we hope to have good vegetation established after the project's completed. So I can, we've done several of these. There's actually 2 on the same stream. One was a project we did on Holgates and then another one near Park Settlement. And then we've done several up in Otsego County where we've had really good success with them, but I didn't think to bring a picture of what it actually looks like installed, so at some point maybe I could email you and get that to the group. Oh, and we did the state requires us to meet the, is it, minority women business enterprise, and then now the service disabled veteran owned business enterprise. So we did all the documentation for the project and we got a waiver for both of those requirements, so we're good to move forward. I would hope to think if he plans to start, they can get in the stream on May 15th. We'll see what the water levels are like. That might delay us a little bit, but, his plan is to start that project in May and we'll have it wrapped up, I would think, within a few weeks, so, or maybe a month. It depends on what the weather does, but,
Right
his
now,
goal would be,
pretty bad.
yeah, it'll be some time before we get in. So unless there's other questions, I'll, report back when we're done, and if I think of it, I'll bring the drone footage so you guys can actually see it. We do a before and after, that's pretty neat, and then hopefully have some final numbers for you in a few months.
Can you do me one favor, you're meeting with Jeff Benson about this, you should ask him, you need to have the trees labeled individually, what species they are.
You want them by species, okay.
We'll know where it came from.
No, him, you'll probably figure out who's got that information.
Don't think so.
Thanks, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Wendy.
Alright. We do, some studying on the April 2nd regular meeting minutes. If anybody did, look for motion to approve those unless there's questions.
Make a motion, we approve.
Tracy, Brenda, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Financials. Casey and I chatted a little bit, nothing big out of the ordinary. Jan hadn't been in last month, which makes sense right in the hard tax season, so she came in and cleaned us up for a couple of months. Only sizable items that came through last month in our operating account was we collected on park outdoor advertising leases, which is some of our bigger lease income items, which is good. And then we also finally received our payment for the Raymond Hazardous Water Study, which had been one of the older stale ones. So those are the only big movements. Outside of that, questions on anything? If not, I would look for a motion to acknowledge our financial. Eric?
Not Eric.
Eric, where is it?
We told.
Lost it.
He's nice there.
Didn't fail. Forgot Kevin's name. He was off the show. On favor?
Okay.
Aye. Opposed? See. ED&P update.
I was mostly gonna talk about the vascular tract feed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
We-
yeah, so if you wanna, that's fine, so we can cruise through new businesses, so we'll get right to you anyways, cause, good news is Mr. Swartwood, after sending us, did he stop in a month ago, or did he send us a note a month ago saying he couldn't pay?
He called me saying, well, I called him and he said that,
Okay,
awesome, like that it was gonna be difficult to pay, and then he came and
and
dropped off
came
the
in
check.
and paid us up for this minor amount from last year, paid up all the 25, and
a pizza, is that,
I don't know.
He,
That
didn't
would
sign
cover
the
it.
checks though, so I have to call him to get them signed.
It's the closed down pizza guy with the weird property that he owns, but we own.
One or two pizzas would have covered the.
Yes,
well, it's in Berkshire, so I mean, that covers it.
yeah, but it's,
Yeah.
it's definitely way better that we just get paid and forward. So that's good. I won't have to talk about that again until 26 at the earliest.
Not for nothing, but my guys really liked the place when
When it was open.
Yeah, they dug it, did a quick walk, but I mean, they were all over that.
Yeah.
Now they got no place to go.
Right.
Dollar General.
Go to the dollar store
That's the
or up to the subway here. Is what it is. Let's see.
Boosts us right into fast New York.
Um, just a recap on this. This is the grant program from New York State. It has the pre-development money and as a track fee, we look at sites to assess for industrial development. And then we don't have to own the land. We can just have options and apply for this money. It's a 50-50 match. But we're allowed to use past, funds and projects to match that money. So Casey had reached out to a couple of engineering firms, Larson and Hunt, just to get some cost estimates for the 3 parcels that we have the appraisals for in Lounsbury. Yeah. And just to do the pre-development requirements, to get the site shovel-ready certified by New York State. So they came in with those numbers. We're still fine tuning them with the 2 companies, because some of them are missing some costs and all that. We'll hone in on those numbers a little more for you guys, but basically we just wanted to get your approval to apply for the application. You know, Larson came in about 150, 125, so it will be in that range somewhere. We have
It's on the
nine-
spreadsheet, just so you guys know, there's like that yellow. If
Yeah.
that helps, you bring
They
it,
really, they threw
it's that breakdown.
I got it.
Did you find it? Okay, I see you all looking at it. Yeah, Britt broke it down more, so you can see it, but both of their estimates are at the page before. They're on front and back.
They threw their numbers together quick. We got at least the ability to talk to Hunt yesterday to get our update on the existing.
So we have the 90,000 for USDA for our current Lounsbury study that we're doing with Hunt that we can use as a match, and we have about 26,000 in ARC funds that we can use as a match. So like if we went with Hunt's budget, the difference the IDA would be responsible for is the 9,500. I mean, it's gonna change a little once we hone in on these numbers, but I think in general, that's where we're gonna be. I wouldn't say the total project cost would be more than 260,000. So I think if you guys are good with us finishing up that application and getting it in, we aren't held to anything.
This is total. I read through this, it's a little bit confusing to me, but the total acreage for the site that you're looking at is 25.4 acres.
There's two appraisal
Right.
reports. We can talk about that a little bit more, but there's 2 appraisal reports that are in there. One was the 25, I believe, and change. That's just the Engelbert piece.
The other was like up to 93 or something.
In total, which would actually incorporate 3 parcels, only 70 some acres was indicated as usable. Yes, some on the wrong side of the highway, well, some's a straight hillside. You know, unfortunately, the little bit of floodplain's actually on the kind of the prime piece, but, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
So these numbers incorporate the 3 pieces.
Properties.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but, you know, flipping through it on my.
Timing's good, as Britt indicates, because we can take the expenses that we're currently in the midst of occurring. Or recognizing the existing project and use that as a match, which is like unheard of.
Yes. you can go on that way.
Yeah, I don't have any problem going forward with it.
I mean, eventually, I don't, we're gonna talk about the appraisals and I bet we would need option agreements, but I think we could probably put something in there, Joe, about. We'd have to, you know, obviously go through all the pre-development and those would have to be favorable. Get the grant for the acquisition costs.
Any further discussion on that application? If not, I would look for a motion, for us to formally apply for the Fast New York grant.
And again, this doesn't obligate us to do anything down the road if we change our mind.
No, we can do all the pre-development work and we can find out we don't wanna move forward with it. We don't have to.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Tracy and Kevin. Eric is not here.
Not dinner time, you can call me anything you want.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here. Historical Society update, Marcia Peachel sent us her annual report.
And then there's brochures there too, if you guys want one.
And you both have. Sure, got one of these already. See duties. That's the update from the people. They are always very appreciative of our support. They asked for money last year. I don't believe, as far as I know, and talking to Marcia, I don't think they're asking for anything this year, but
No, I asked her, she said, right now, whatever.
it's good.
Mhm.
Anybody got any questions for Marcia or the depot? Property site listing.
Oh, that was just if, we talked about potentially listing our sites on Zillow or LoopNet if they're, I didn't have anything to add to the agenda, like, information on it. Pretty much if they're LoopNet and Zillow are free. I don't know if the board wanted to list off their properties so people know they're available or what you guys wanted to do regarding that.
In the past, you guys haven't listed them.
I don't remember talking about it in the past. I mean, maybe I just don't recall.
I don't recall the Zillow piece.
I think
We talked about listing them on the website at one point.
Right, there was the internal website of properties that we have available, but not through external sites. These would be external sites. I don't even, I mean, I assume it's up to us what we put out there for contact info and everything else. It really just opens up folks in your department to take phone calls from tire kickers and anybody else, but you
Yeah.
never know, maybe it leads to something positive too.
The only way we use it right now is if we get like a lead from the state and also are under 30 acres. And we only have the 20 acre and the 10 acre site. So it's not like they're getting submitted that often for any of the state projects either.
And then the county website where we list properties is gonna be under construction, isn't gonna exist how it is. So, and that's not really used right now, and it's not really that accessible. And a lot of people don't know it's there unless they randomly search it, I guess, on our website and find it. So we're trying to find a new way to fix that by doing an IR with IT, so.
If you list it, I mean, it seems to me that I keep track of a few real estate departments just to see what the market's doing. And, sometimes some of the stuff is pretty stale. I just wonder if you do list it, how, if you decide you want it off there because it's driving you nuts, which it might. Can you get it off quickly and painlessly and
I don't know, I guess.
that would be my only concern is,
You're stuck.
open the door to people having to respond to,
I think I'm.
it's like Facebook market.
I think you take them down. I think the listing, info is probably something that people could find. I mean, that would probably just change the status of something is active to, not active.
There's a lot of stuff on Zillow that nobody put on. It's like they go out and grab it and add it.
Yeah, I mean, their
It's
database,
not for sale, but here's the property kind of thing.
right.
We could
Right.
stick to like LoopNet then, or.
I mean, really, it's the same as like a realtor.com. I mean, if your house sold I would say in at least the last 10 years,
It's
your
gonna show.
listing is there for the world to see. But it's gonna indicate that the property's not active.
But if somebody's looking for properties that we have, they're gonna come looking for somebody to ask about it. Aren't they?
Yeah, but do they know
Who to
contact?
Yeah, I don't know if they know who to
I mean,
contact.
you just come in the building and say, hey, which way do I go to talk about property? That's a question. It was always the question when Leanne was like the center of information and,
Right.
we wondered, who else would be getting that information?
Yeah,
Right.
It's just
We thought.
Same
we
with
should.
same
That was
with
a
the
waste
real
of-
estate.
That was a waste of time.
Yes.
Christine was doing it. She didn't do anything with it.
So I guess
We can look at
I'd
what
leave it
some
up to you guys. If
other
you wanna
items-
field it,
Yeah,
Look at what some
we
of the
can,
other
we can
items
try it.
it has no bearing on my life.
You're
No,
fine.
it
Or
doesn't,
yours.
and that's just it. I
Yours.
mean, I would really look for more direction from Casey and Britt before we made a decision on it, because I mean, if it's something you want, then sure,
I
but.
think it's no one knows about these sites
Mhm.
unless you're like directly involved in what we do.
So you think it's a good thing?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, I
Okay.
don't know, we can look a little further, whether it's
You
Luke
think
or
it's a good
something
thing?
else, but it's
I
not
don't
to
know if
sign
you
up.
guys
as
wanna
like,
sell it or you
that
wanna
it's
keep
for
it your
sale.
property forever.
I mean, Luke,
We're pretty possessive.
To me, I mean.
I mean,
Right.
post it
Luke,
on
Luke,
I'm good with it.
yeah, I mean, Luke Net by nature is
Just so
more
you know, that was
commercial
a
based.
smart ass answer. I'm
Zillow.
very proud of you.
Just for that, I'm not doing this.
Okay, I need that. I need that filter. Can we post it on our social media or would that be weird?
No, I think we've done it before.
Oh,
put it
we
on-
could do that too. I don't know. On your team type.
I mean, I don't have a problem making a motion to say, hey, if it's decided we wanna do this within the next month or two, great,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
go
Okay.
for it. I
We
mean,
talked that one to
nobody,
death.
there's-
Make
nobody.
the motion, let's go.
Make a
Alright.
motion. Make a motion.
That emotion, not getting any younger. Yes.
I'll second.
I'm gonna list your
That's
number.
for- You're not listening, no.
Board is fine if we list on Zillow and LoopNet at no cost.
You must have missed a lot of the conversation.
All in favor, say it.
Aye.
Opposed. So
You're not in favor of much tonight, are you?
Kevin is sick of me.
No, he hasn't been here for 2 meetings.
Gee.
Really? He's out of tune. He's out of tune. That's a problem.
Actually, I thought I would waltz in and get fired. I just.
Nope.
You were prepared.
You
were
can't get
hoping.
fired until you find a replacement, and man that's not here was the one with the replacement potential last month. So I get no update on that. Reports for Depot Road project. That is our appraisals. Appraisals are great fun. If you wanna go through these things, it'll take you a while.
Yeah, I gave you guys the basic parts of them, the important parts.
Yeah, I saw it.
So again, we made a motion to approve these things. There's the assignments themselves a couple of months ago. Commercial appraiser that went out, studied the Engelbert site individually as well as the conglomeration of Engelbert, oil. Yeah, Lounsbury's kind of got us, so you want us to strip right through the middle of the two. But it's the smallest of the three. And, I'm throwing out super round numbers because I didn't do the calcs right in my head, but both of them came back in the vicinity of $20,000 an acre.
The 24 acre, well, 5 acre parcel, we said.
5 acre.
20 an acre.
Here,
I
what you
just
get.
did that calculation.
You know, I haven't never talked to any of these owners. I mean, obviously it makes sense for the appraiser to go in there and say, wait a minute. We can't see people being able to really realistically use some of this land, so that's what's done. So there is some property here that people own that they may think there's some value to, but this report really chops it out because you can't develop it.
Well, the one's that's a hillside.
Hillside and then the wrong side of the highway that there's nothing we could do. with
So
that
that's
either.
like blocky ground.
I mean, honestly, if they wanted to retain that, sell to somebody else, have at it, but I mean, I think it's probably all landlocked.
Is that sort of one of the other?
That's one of them, yep.
But why,
So again, that's gonna be one of the pieces that's lopped off,
I mean,
and the portion of the wooded portion here is all lopped out, because it off, that's very steep topography.
So what's the question here?
I don't know that there's really a question. I think the next step is to really go back to the owners and start to see if they're willing to sell at these numbers, because
They all wanted to see the reports. I haven't sent them.
What do you get?
Lost service, something.
You gotta start over.
Okay.
I just think they're, you know, if you're offering one piece of real estate altogether with a purpose in mind, it's one thing. You got three pieces of real estate, like you say, when you strip off the middle and pieces and parts that don't really function. I think it's pretty stout myself, but. I-
1.4 million.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's not.
I rolled through that, like I say, it was a little bit confusing, but when I got to the end of it, I said,
A lot of money for what we get. That's what I think.
you know,
Well,
you're
I
a
mean,
couple million into it before you put a brick on the ground.
But I do know, just in talking to, I didn't talk, but just an email that came from the one owner that's not domestic, I mean. It's always the challenge between buyer and seller. You generally start out, he's apart. And I think even with these numbers, which I think, this is the appraiser that, hopefully that I have the most respect for in regards to the work that he does. I didn't want to pick somebody that's gonna go in there and lowball the keys out of something and start us at a point where we're just dead on arrival.
Well, I think the 530,000 for the smaller piece is not bad.
And that's the owner that approached us that started this whole process, and that's why we appraised that one separate, because it may come down. That's our only negotiation if Lonsberry and Boyle say. So.
Right.
That's it.
So if we.
Well, that's the
to
most
get-
usable piece.
That is the piece that is the only one that could be used, on its own.
Right.
And the rest of the, so you'd spend almost another $1 million to get a bunch of property that we really can't use.
Oil's piece, got a
Well-
bunch of hill on it, correct?
But that's a lot, that's,
Quite a-
the valuation of that excludes 20-some acres. It literally says there's no value to the IDA as the end user for 20-some acres. So that's not included in the.
So how many acres is that piece altogether?
The difference between the two, I believe, is roughly 25 on the Engelbert piece. And, shoot, I gotta get further.
93 on it.
It's all together, but that's not what's
70
valued.
is
That is
only-
not what's valued.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying it's 93 minus about 20 acres,
Yeah.
so it's 70.
I think it's
73 total.
72. I think
Okay.
it's 72.
All right,
If I was to.
Well, that makes sense at
1.4,
1.4, then it's 20 grand.
141,
right. It
right.
makes a lot more sense.
Unlimited
Mm-hmm.
ability.
Yes, I think it's 72 acres, because it was the
Bring
price
full
per,
Texas.
the price per acre, if I recall, was just over 20,000 on the Engelbert piece and closer to like 19.5 on the bigger chunk.
Okay,
I mean, I think the biggest thing that the appraiser came back to us with, which wasn't surprising to us, but is something that would need to eventually be worked, is, I mean, access to that site is not currently set up for truck traffic. I mean, that would be something that needs to be worked. I mean, they actually approached us, said, can we just make a hypothetical condition that we can cross right over Best Buy's property? It's like,
Wow.
yeah. Because they almost saw that as
yeah,
the.
it's like a dirt track in front of it, right? Off
There's
the
a,
corner of
paper-
Best
it's
Buy.
what they call a paper street. I mean, there is a road there that is probably deeded to Nichols,
Mhm.
but it's nominally, it's unimproved, it's ag.
Right,
ag
yeah, I know, this entire piece and all these parcels you looked at
many times over.
2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, maybe. And
No.
the Boyle one was the one that really was, I think, the issue at that time. And, it
Well,
came
again,
up
I
because
think-
we were gonna plant, somebody was gonna plant it, right? Somebody
Yeah,
planted it the corn or planted
Engelbert.
it the hay or something.
Engelbert,
Yes,
yeah,
okay,
he planted it.
now it's coming up.
Then he wanted to be able to get in there and harvest it or something.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, we've been talking about this for
Okay.
years.
Makes sense. So what do we need to do right now? Did I miss something?
I don't know if we can do motion.
Well, you said they
Share
wanted us to share the report.
Hey, if they wanna share the report, and if we're gonna do the track B application, we have to have some kind of site controller option agreement with the property owner, so we'd have to have like a starting price per acre. Or, I don't know, Joe, if we could do something without numbers, something a little more vague.
You know, the option's kind of the lowest level of control.
I mean, and it's,
You gotta be
we, I mean,
vague.
we should be having a
Vague.
discussion in Bangford as
Vague.
to how. And how anxious are they to potentially,
They seemed pretty motivated last time. too.
I mean, that becomes the next question is it- I don't know what the viability, I mean, we should find out what the viability of selling them all right now is, but my gut feeling is. You're talking Bangford.
Wasn't there a big piece of Best Buy that Best Buy owns but hasn't built on as well?
Yep.
They're not.
It takes a while for it all to come back, but
Yeah.
it's working its way out.
That's right across the creek from Bangford. If that darn creek wasn't there, you'd have a pretty darn nice site there too. There's pretty.
Build a bridge over it.
I could build a bridge over there, just can't build it over it on the lake, so. All right, so, I'll just ask for a motion just so we have it, that, IDA board's okay to share these reports with landowners. That's all we really need.
Well,
I'll
and
make
we
a
can
motion.
start conversations.
Yeah, and we'll begin some initial negotiations.
Can you knock the Boyle Mountain down and make the other land with it?
Probably could for a lot of money.
If,
Somebody with big.
If Lockheed bought that land, that's the first thing they do, I'll guarantee you.
Knock that mountain down.
We actually own the little one right next to the other side of Boyle.
That'd be,
Yeah.
it's gotta be like gravel everywhere there. You know, they'd love to have that. I mean,
Well, it sounds like a lot of money till you start trucking gravel in to build buildings and all of a sudden it's not a lot of money to bring crusher in and do it yourself.
right,
The reality is because of the way it's zoned, because you have relatively close access to water, sewer, electric, gas. There's just not a lot around here for that. I mean, there's a site, there's a comp in here that sold in 23 in Appalachian. Right next to Hidden Valley Electronics property. I mean, I think that was 30 an acre.
Mm.
And that's unimproved and not completely flat and was needed to be timbered and
it's flat now.
pretty flat now. You know,
Usually Lofty owns a piece right next to that mountain.
Right next to Boyle. See, there's a little chunk on there you could see that's flat and then the rest is.
Oh, so they've heard.
as you work your way, as you work
No,
your
I don't
way,
think they have, but they own it. They're out.
They're coming.
yeah, they own
You know they're coming.
right here.
Mm.
But as you work your way this way, this topography starts really getting
Mm.
steep.
Why wouldn't they want this too?
I'm saying, why wouldn't, if we're gonna mess with it, why wouldn't we want it? You don't have to section it off. That piece could be, if it can be thrown in the deal for not a whole lot of money, then own that. At a minimum, it's a buffer. And on the high side, you might pull a bunch of gravel off it. I don't know. Trucking gravel's not cheap. In the distance, so.
Got a motion to share reports from Tracy. In a
Yep.
second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. RG opponent numbers are in our packet,
I might not include them.
that's all right, they were good, they continue to be, in a
For us,
healthy-
they're on the
healthy spot
P&L,
for
right?
us.
Yeah.
They are certainly above where they were year over year. Anything new with the railroad crossing that we've heard? Okay, no news is good news there. So we'll jump off to that. Leases, there is a report of our leases here. You know, if you wanted to chat on those at all, or if that was just an update on those.
Well, I was wondering if anyone knew on the board about like the Wonder Woman lease. who that is, or that's what it's under, the name is Wonder Woman.
There's a lease with Wonder.
Yeah, it says Wonder and then WM, I assume.
Oh, that's William.
okay.
That's
Oh.
William.
That's hilarious, so Wonder William. That's, I just, yeah,
That's,
yeah, that's what it's listed off on everything,
That's
so I
the
thought.
one
So,
thing that
Billy
sheds
Wonder?
off.
yeah, that's the one where you tore his shed down maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But he's got a much bigger building right
Oh, okay.
by the mission.
I have his number.
Do you?
I can't
Okay.
wait to see him and say, we heard about Wonder Woman.
And then there was one other, I can't remember off the top of my head.
We don't wanna know what you.
Did Wonder pay this year or
No, that's
maybe
why I
he's
was.
mad at us?
Or what about, does Engelberg also lead sometimes with us? Does anyone know about that lead?
They leased Buck
Piece of
Road.
ground, right?
Buck Road, yeah.
But they
Yeah.
did last year, does anyone know?
They did last year, but they are paying on it this year.
Oh, so I should definitely,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would touch base with both of them then, since I think that
Okay.
if they haven't paid, they both owe us whatever the terms are.
yeah, they usually, I think their lease starts in April, so it's not like it's that far off. I just wanted to
Engelberg
know.
Get in and get out by the year
For,
for that lease, that piece. You said they didn't lease it last year, but they're leasing it
I
this year.
think they are leasing. They didn't lease it last year, but they are this year.
I mean,
Didn't plant anything.
Yeah, I was sure.
How does
Buck
that-
Road's
how does
not-
that work though?
Buck Road's not,
That doesn't make any sense to me, doesn't it?
A lot of the
Okay.
leases you guys have are yearly.
Yeah, but
All of yours are like literally,
the lease,
they
the lease,
don't
right,
expire.
like I don't wanna,
No,
I
you
don't
got
wanna
a
use it
2-year
this year.
lease and I'm just gonna let it lie fallow, but you gotta pay.
Right,
I think a lot of them, like Casey said, are evergreen leases
Mhm.
with the terms as to how each party can get out with notice, which isn't real long, cause I remember, cause the Wonder lease was the one that we ended up having to try to do some research on, and we were literally referencing like a survey from 1950.
That was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I found some of the leases, they're falling apart. I was gonna try to scan them in, but. I don't know, some of them are video.
alright.
Hmm.
So,
So
Speaking
Billy
of,
Wonder is supposed to be leasing that property where that building is? Is that what I'm understanding?
He's got there's like a white, not really garage, I mean, it's almost, it's bigger than a shed, but it's smaller than
Yeah,
a.
that's where his dad used to
Mhm.
park the vehicles that were wrecked when he owned the gas station over here.
Mhm.
So he would bring the vehicles in and they parked, that whole lot down there was full of cars all the time. Right next to the open door mission.
Yep. Yeah, he's supposed to still.
But I didn't know, I thought he owned them. But you're saying that that building's on our property?
I think the ones the sheds, I think he might own that piece of it.
So is he off the hook then?
should be, I thought we knocked all the buildings down that were on that lease, cause we don't
I don't know
want
why
people
he
moving
pays
into it.
$500 a year for the other one.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, figure that one out, cause I can't imagine somebody, I mean, we got farmers paying us $200 a year for 10-20 acres, and he paying us $500 a year for something that was grown in by trees.
And they've been paying this?
We had to get paid by him, I think.
Yep,
No kidding. Well, that was his dad that was paying. He passed away.
Yeah, and we just tore the sheds down.
But that shed that he was talking about was,
That was the last.
it was, if it was as big as the corner that Casey sits in, that's big. I think it was small. Yeah, it was pretty small.
But there was two of them there, wasn't there?
There was 3 outbuildings, but the other 2 were borderline inaccessible based on tree growth.
For you. For
The homeless people. could
Homeless
get in
people
there.
to figure out a way to get in there, trust me.
But Larry spent more time knocking trees down than he did knocking buildings down, I think. And he knocked those things down. Cause that was really.
Still cheaper than hauling stuff out of there.
Used needles are more expensive than knocking buildings down.
Did you get the emails I had with that fellow Rick Stan?
Yeah.
On that lease?
Yeah,
Want to discuss that this evening?
for the STN, for the railroad crossing,
Yeah. Yeah, I forget who he's with,
Southern Tier Network.
yeah, they wanna run
Fiber.
fiber across our tracks above aerial. And the railroad told them, essentially, it's okay with us, cause we just rent the track. Well, I think
Right, but we've got other people that have crossed.
we've done the same, yeah, so.
Charge them so
Do
much.
you
a
want
foot.
me to just proceed ahead and then we'll get back to you with the proposed lease? It's a simple, we've done these,
Right.
yeah,
No reason.
kind of what we, isn't
And
that
at a
what we
minimum,
did?
it has to be documented, because, you know, when it falls down across your tracks,
Right.
then it's gonna be a
No
problem.
question, but this,
They did this for
isn't this
Hay,
what we did with the glamping people?
Yeah,
yeah.
well, they needed,
It was-
they actually needed physical,
They
long-term
need
access.
so we did,
across.
we did something
We've
with
done this
Hayfleet, with
before.
Hayfleet. A few years back, you know, they needed to cross over our.
Well, I'll work it out with this guy and then we'll come back at some point with a lease.
Yeah, this is your purview.
Yeah, it's my purview.
You're done, buddy.
Do you guys know if the?
I was
glamping people
gonna
are still
teach you a
using
new
this?
word this year, but I don't
They
know.
should be unless they shut it down. I mean, and I feel bad if they did, cause it opens
Where is
Uh,
it?
Newark Valley. Wade Street, Newark
Right
Valley.
off Wig Street. Between Wig Street and Route 38, right?
What was this now?
The glamping.
Glamping spot.
They're gonna put in, what, they're gonna do yurts or something?
Yeah,
Can't remember.
I remember that. Would you say something about shutting it down?
She was asking if they're still around. I said they should still be paying that lease unless they already shut it down.
Yeah.
You drive by there every day, swing in. Swing in, see what's going on there.
It's supposed to, that was supposed to be one of our
Stay
laws.
there for a week.
The clamper.
Next time I go up that way,
Yeah, we had.
You're a clamper now.
I can sympathize with people, they get frustrated with the commercial loan process these days. She screamed uncle and said, I'm the heck out of this before she got to the finish line and went and I think got a home equity on a property she had in Florida to finish up.
I can't say I blame her.
I don't either. Sad, I'm in the business and I shouldn't say that, but I can't say I blame.
Good, next.
Old business, Tractor Supply. So Joe and I chatted a little bit about this. It sounds like they're advancing. Again, you got
They
people.
broke
with-
ground, right?
They did, I mean, but,
Right.
you know, so obviously they're confident that they're gonna get this resolved. But, I mean, you got the village and the town that I think have more to work through than we do. Joe, did you have a chance to ask if anybody else is charging?
I gave a call. Bob McKetrick, see it, but he hasn't got back.
Okay,
He's the
So what?
town, I can't remember whether Bob's the town or the village.
Bob McCurdick, he was with Coughlin Gerhart.
He is, still-
He was the village's attorney. Now
Village.
it's that Nathan Van Wyne took over.
Oh, Van Wise.
Yes.
so I put a call, I mean, he'll obviously walk down the hall and talk to me, so. When he gets back, I'll see what the.
I don't think we need to decide. I can't imagine they're gonna have this worked out between now and our
No.
next meeting.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
They need like 300 feet at the end of the road up to the most recent home leasing project. So all the way up the hill, working their way to the water tower.
You
There's a
know,
hammerhead.
where that road ends. Kinda. That's road start.
So I think Veolio own it all the way from the water tower down the hill to the hammerhead. Then the town wants it for like a
Yeah, what
backflow
was
valve
a
or something.
fairly simple transaction became very complex by the
complicated.
end of that.
Because it's right on the village town line, so the original drawings had it in the village and the town said, we ain't buying that because it's not on our property, so they had to redraw it. Literally move it a few feet to the south, so now it's in the town's property. They want that piece, then they'll need a right of way from us for about 300 feet going east. Before it turns back into, Vinnie Cordo's property.
So it'll be a deed. They'll want, like, the town will want a deed for their actual infrastructure, like the hot box, I think, and something else. And
Yeah.
then you guys will also need to go prove it.
They get Veolia involved and it's gonna.
Yeah,
it'll
but
turn out to be
that's,
for the next 7
this
to 8
got
years.
very complicated and Viola hadn't been involved, but they
Veolia is
did.
gonna be involved only with the county side of it, so the county's gonna have to.
They will find a way
They will find.
to screw things up big
I
time.
mean, we,
Got that on your street?
I'm trying to.
I mean, we've agreed in principle to do this, obviously, the only outstanding question is can we at least charge them enough to cover the big man's fees at the end of the table?
So.
Oh, we would begin to cover this guy's. Maybe it's small payments.
Small. An annuity, as it were.
There you go.
Here, here.
We go garden sewer subsidy, that's kind of a boomerang Groundhog Day item. Not much you wanted to chat on that.
Me, I went back to them, so last time we talked about, they want us to commit to the 46% of the annual sewer charges, that on percentage there. 'Cause that's what the ID has been paying since 2017, 2018. I did go back and ask them for a little more backup documentation on why that sewer subsidy is needed. They kind of spit back some language about how they have a 30-year loan on it because of the financing, the affordable financing source associated with it from the state. So that pilot goes out to like 2047. I don't know how much you guys want me to push on it, I guess. Do they really need it? I mean, they're saying they budgeted 24,000 for 2024, which I can show you guys the numbers, but
I think you should show them.
what?
I think you should show them.
I should show them.
All the way to the road.
These are all based on water and something, right?
Yeah, so when they submit this project to the state, they have to budget out 30 years, and so they would, they budgeted a certain amount for sewer and they increase it 3% a year, but in actuality, the sewer bills, the EDUs have changed for 5 years. I talked to the village, they don't have any planned improvements, they aren't expecting any kind of increase. So what they budget versus what it actually is, I mean, in 2024, their difference was really 10,000, but we paid 16, almost 17,000 of that for them, the 36,000. So I kind of showed you what it would be if the 0% increase for the sewer charges out to 2047, and then I do 1%, 2%, and 3%, and with theirs increasing 3%, even with theirs increasing 3% every year versus us increasing sewer charges, they still have enough to cover the sewer. If this makes sense, it makes sense in my mind, but
So right now, we're technically providing them a cushion, is what you're saying.
yes.
And this has us forecasting providing them a cushion right up until 2034.
Yes. Maybe.
So again, if you call them out on their own math, you could feasibly go back to them with a counter proposal to say, we're gonna reduce our subsidy from now until 2035. And then start. Sure they'll love that, but they kind of set the plate.
I mean, they were trying to tell me that they paid about 43,000 this year in sewer charges, but that was late fees, we levied fees. So
Yeah,
they're
which
also-
obviously there's no reason to,
Yeah, it's really bad.
no.
That's their problem.
Correct.
Pay your bills.
I mean, again, nothing's. I got opinions just because I don't like the way this looks in our financials every year, but I mean, we've got time. I mean, I have no issue if if you did want to go back and say, hey, how about we work out a schedule where in fact we do agree
We
that
pay
you don't
less.
have to pay more than what it is, but you're gonna get reduced subsidy from now until potentially another 8, 9 years. I have no issue with that.
What's actually needed.
Yeah, I mean, that was their
I
math.
agree with that.
Mhm.
That'll reduce our headache, so to speak, for at least a period of time.
At least we're not talking about the water tower.
No, but again, it's just all,
Another purview.
I still don't understand how any of these housing projects work. I mean, any of these subsidized housing projects, the cost of construction is
How do they make any money?
out of sight,
How do they make any money?
out of sight.
She just explained to me, like, if they go over their budgeted amount, they'll have a really large balloon payment at the end of the 30 years, which isn't good for them. But you can see we're not really going over that. At a certain point, we're crossing and we're not going over the budgeted amount.
Yeah, I have no issue going back to them. My guess is we'll get another counter
counter,
proposal, we'll get another
for
counter
instance.
proposal, but
nothing's broken, we
Yeah.
haven't changed anything.
Money they could save on proposals, we probably could.
So I mean, I would just leave that out there as an open item on old business. I have no issue going back to that with that, putting that together.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, we'll cover your gap for you, but in our mind, you have no gap for a while.
Yeah.
Committee reports, audit, nothing to report, governance. Eric, where are you with your new board member? Eric? Where, or,
Maybe if you call Kevin, he'll sign on.
I've earned that after. Let's see,
We should call Marty.
that could be next one. Finance committee, no report, loan committee. We are done with our new loans off. They get the check?
No, they're now coming tomorrow.
Here's how much they need the money.
Easiest bar to lend to.
Phone calls and emails to come get your money.
Easiest borrower to lend to. One that don't need it.
Yeah,
Railroad, we talked about, no additional news there, nothing on public relations. Sales tax exemptions, I think on these, we are good on 2 and 3. 1 still is a bit of a work in progress, but that's not of our doing, that's Best Bev needing to clean up their own internal tracking spreadsheets, so. They are at least responsive, they've been sending us some stuff, but they still got cleanup work to do,
Christine as well.
as far as I know.
They'll get their shit together.
Sunny Solar Joe,
still waiting for them. We've done all our part, prepared all our papers, sent them to them.
all is in their court.
I think I said this the last meeting, but Bill explained to me, Rick Panache, that, he has 10 of these deals. And he's trying to close.
These are low priority for him.
Well, no, they're actually high priority, but ours is probably lowest of the 10. And, it's somehow he'll get them all done
Sometime.
at some point.
Nothing under project updates, grant updates. This list, I think, is gonna start shrinking a little bit, because the first one, I believe, can now come off, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah,
I
he
signed,
was.
I signed paperwork this week to formally request that the state closes down on that one, since we're done with the project and we've paid. Industrial hub, little snafu on that one, because they went out to do geotech, I believe. Caused a little hubbub with one of our tenants. Leasing land there for ag purposes,
They stop.
so.
This caused me a
The
little
only-
bit of stress.
Yeah, the only challenge with that is Hunt's done with what they can finish. They aren't gonna be able to finish geotech until later here.
Yeah.
Are they still gonna plan to present next month though?
Yes.
So they'll present next month with what they have.
If you guys wanna look at the document I sent, if you have any questions or want to change, let
I'm
me
on
know.
about page 240.
Out of
right?
300, yeah,
So I would like a chance to finish it.
oh, okay. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions or concerns, let me know.
Page
I just need it before the meeting. Otherwise you get it.
Well, actually, I've only read half because the page wouldn't center.
Mine does
You
the
get the
same
same thing? No, I've read half of 240.
You're ahead of most of them.
This is just a phase 1.
No. So I can get you. Well, yeah, in essence,
Yeah.
yes, sir, you are getting very similar to what you would get.
I'm working one of those now and just not sure what they even mean.
You need a beer.
It sounds like you're working bank.
No,
You just want one? For your own liability?
I lost my mind.
We'll go down that rabbit hole. Raymond Hadley, so we can start the closeout process with that one now too, right?
Yeah.
So A and C are really a non-item at this point. Blodgett Road, we got our update from Wendy. And the USDA is in semi-perma pause mode as far as I know.
I talked to Susan like 2 weeks ago the LDC thing, and she said she was getting ready to send a conditions package, but now after, I don't know, they might be on pause again, so we'll see. But she said she was working on it.
What do you wanna go into executive?
Maybe for just extent.
Week?
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
I make a motion, we move to executive.
Can I just make sure Zoom is not doing it?
It's not ticking, is it?
No. Do you want us to stay or go?
Oh, you can stay. This is just a quick mention.
Shut the door, or don't you care?
It's a-
Can you give me 1 second? I wanna make sure the live stream. If you pause the recording, does the live stream pause?
I don't know if you close it, it's definitely gone.
They'll read your lips, so.
Yeah, we're not come out with anything or whatever. It's I visited with Jack Williams when I was drafting.